welcome to Rotted Reviews, and it is day 2 of Patron Appreciation Month. I'm genuinely, extraordinarily grateful for every single viewer, commenter, and subscriber to my channel. I really couldn't do it without the support of the community that watches my videos. But for the folks that defied all manner of logic, reason, and sanity, decided to go ahead and support me above and beyond by subscribing to my Patreon, well, I wanted to do something a little bit above and beyond for them and have a month dedicated to thanking them. So I queried it and I asked, what movie do you each want me to take a look at and offer a review of? And today's suggestion comes from Kate. Kate, thank you so much for all of your support. This one goes out to you. So, question for you. What does Indiana Jones, volcanoes, and zombies have in common? Well, as far as I can tell, they're the only things on Earth that actually get better when you toss in some Nazis. So it goes with the 2009 Norwegian horror movie, Dead Snow. Now, I have seen this one before, but it was a delight kicking it on again. I still haven't seen the sequel yet. I still really don't even know what it's about, but I have seen this one, and I thoroughly enjoyed it just as much on this recent watch as I did on the first one. So in this full review format, I will be discussing this in a spoiler-free fashion, but at some point, I will shift over into a full spoiler review discussion of it, and I will give a bit of a warning at that point. But beginning with the spoiler-free aspect, this movie follows a group of medical students that are on their Easter holiday, and they decide to go out and go on a hiking, camping trip up in a cabin up in the mountains where there's plenty of snow. Dead snow. And then through a confluence of events that really doesn't matter at all, they are beset upon by Nazi zombies. That's pretty much all you need to know. That's pretty much all this movie offers. But that's not to say that it's vapid or hollow in the slightest. This movie was fun through and through. This really wasn't the most grand spectacle ever shot with multi-million-dollar CGI efforts or slow burn subtext that gets to the core of the human condition. This is just some fucking Nazi zombies slaughtering and being slaughtered with a bunch of practical effects and a shitload of fun. And boy, on that level, does it deliver. There are some unique aspects and characteristics and traits behind each character and the actor's portrayal of them, but it's really neither here nor there. It doesn't matter in the slightest. It elevates it beyond just a singular dimension in a movie that, by all rights, we're not looking for anything beyond the singular dimension, so the fact that it does actually make that effort, hats off to it. But what are we watching here? We're watching zombies killing and being killed in the bloodiest, goriest, most horrific effort imaginable. This movie is 1 hour and 32 minutes of runtime, and about 10.3 tons of fun. And I would review it further, except there's honestly not really a whole lot of point. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and throw out the scores. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And this movie is exactly the reason that A, I have the intent category, and B, when I set out to review movies for a YouTube channel, I specifically wanted to target horror movies. I feel like for film criticism in general, there's a bit of a lost opportunity for movies that are just trying to set out to be fun and bold and gory and tongue-in-cheek and a big old wink to the camera, and it gets lost because, well, it just may not be the most cinematically compelling storyline with characters that you rally behind and so forth, but it still has its place. And although this isn't going to have a whole lot of laurels to its name, I think that there's a certain amount of glory in setting out to do something and achieving it very well, even if that something was stupid, campy, fun. And what this movie set out to do, it absolutely pulled off. This gets a full 25 out of 25 points for the intention. The technical covers a wide gamut of things, including camera work, sound design, editing, and also practical and special effects generally. And although the special effects weren't the best I've ever seen, for a limited budget movie that is trying to pull off a whole cavalcade of practical effects zombies, pulled it off pretty well in my opinion. What this may have lacked in some high polished zombie effects that we're kind of more and more getting used to with things like The Walking Dead, I think it more than made up for with some of the exuberance that it had in some of the kills and some of the action shots and some of the risk taking as far as particular shots of what the movie was trying to do with some kills and fights and so forth. It doesn't always have to be the best practical effects ever found on Earth, as long as it can make you just shriek with laughter, clap at the screen, and enjoy the lunacy of what's going on. So I think that should about wrap up the spoiler-free portion of this. It's time to go ahead and transition into a full spoiler talk about some key aspects of this that I generally want to discuss. So, full warning, please click away if you haven't seen this movie or if you care about spoilers. Fair enough. So there's only one or two things, if I have to be perfectly honest, that I want to talk about beyond spoiler-free, just as general discussion. Otherwise, this is going to devolve into basically, hey, remember that kill? It's pretty fucking sweet, right? Yeah. So beyond that, I just love that this movie isn't really afraid to go down the logical path. If you are beset upon in the mountains with, covered with snow, a legion of Nazi zombies, let's be honest, your survival rate's pretty nil. And as far as a group goes, it's pretty logical that we're talking about a full wipe. Again, I haven't seen the sequel. I don't know the nature of it. I've never even watched a trailer of it. So I assume that nobody got out, but one or two of the kills was kind of more implied. So we'll see. But one aspect of this that I thought was kind of unique, but at the same time odd, it was definitely more of a, it was a European movie, not an American one, where it kind of turned the trope on its head a little bit. And the one character that was kind of the portly film nerd was the one that managed to get laid. Albeit the odd part, well, clearly the odd part was the fact that it happened in a outhouse and he had freshly taken a shit and she still insisted on putting a finger in her mouth. But, I mean, if that's your deal, then hey, more power to you. I don't really believe in kink shaming. And I think the last thing that I really want to talk about is the nature of the zombies themselves, because I thought it was interesting that we really didn't get into a lot of their lore, a lot of the backstory. This really was happy just fucking being. It didn't have to explain everything. And I honestly would have been a little bit more disappointed if it had tried to have at least a half-hearted explanation for anything, or if it had gone way too far and did way too much of a mythos explanation. I think, honestly, for something as vapid as this, or well, maybe not vapid, that's probably the wrong word, but for something as just uniquely fun as this, it was probably best to just pull back and just let it be what it is. That said, this really does deal with a little bit of an issue that I have with a lot of zombie movies and a lot of horror in general, slashers included, is the gradual nerfing of the enemy. When this was getting first started and the Nazis were attacking folks, especially before we actually knew what they were, aside from, the poster and everything, but the film had not yet revealed it. We were talking about lightning fast killers that distracted you in the front and came at you from the sides, velociraptor style, slitting your throat before you could even see what it was, and just overpowered to the nth degree, slamming people out of the frame and doing it with a million-mile-per-hour run and ungodly strength. And then by the time people were really ready to do some battle and kick on the chainsaws, they were pretty much cannon fodder. But that's not really a criticism as much as it is just more of an observation than anything else. This is not the kind of movie where you look for leaps of logic. You just sit back, enjoy the ride, enjoy the gore, and have a hoot of a time laughing and clapping at the screen as people are just getting slaughtered left and right. So thank you, Kate, for suggesting this one. I honestly thought when I was opening things up to Patreon recommendations that they would be making me hurt a lot more than this, but this was a full treat. This was a joy to watch. So thank you for watching this video. If you like this, please click like and subscribe. It helps me out a whole lot. And beyond that, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.